It is Thursday, October 10th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. Oh, you just did a late wardrobe change.
I did.
Started off with no hat. Now you've got a hat.
I was looking at myself in the camera. I was like, I look a little disheveled. I mean, it is very early in the morning. I better put this hat on. I thought my hair looked great for a second, but then I was like, okay, maybe not.
All right. Well, Wednesday was the last day of the season where we had 4 games because one team was eliminated, which we will get to momentarily. And it kind of starts with our tip of the cap. I always love the celebrations, particularly when they're in front of a full house like we saw at Citi Field on Wednesday. Jesse Winker, who's been such an emotional part of what the Mets have done, is arm in arm. That is Donovan Mitchell Sr., who has worked with the Mets for more than 2 decades. He works in their DEI department, and they are FaceTiming Cavaliers all-star guard Donovan Mitchell, who is an enormous Mets fan. Although I wish that he was, maybe went up to Detroit to go see the Guardians play. I understand his love and passion for the Mets. This is kind of cool.
It's amazing. This is like your world right here. When sports collide, this is Chris Rose's Super Bowl. I love it, and I love that Jesse Winker's kind of been an interesting figure over the playoffs, kind of like the heel, the troll, and now he's getting some love. I love everything about what he's done in the playoffs.
Yeah, he can definitely sell that timeshare that he had in Milwaukee, but other than that,
that's a tough
one. Oh, my gosh.
What's he supposed to do? They hate him there, too.
I know, but very rarely do you hear something like that come out of an athlete's mouth.
I know. So, he's keeping it real, I guess.
Yeah.
I love you, Milwaukee, just FYI.
By the way, baseball next season should whatever team he is on should make them start next season in Milwaukee.
They have to.
He should be forced to hit leadoff.
I mean, he'll have to go there. Well, yeah. I guess he doesn't have to go there, but
right. He could lose his passport to Wisconsin or something. I don't know. We'll deal with that in a few months. In the meantime, let's deal with his present club, the New York Mets, who continue to shock the world. And yes, they are moving on to someplace they haven't been in nearly a decade.
Now the pitch. Swing and a drive towards the gap in right center. It's pretty deep. It's back near the wall. It's gone. It's gone. Francisco Lindor. He may have just outdone himself. He has hit a grand slam into the Phillies bullpen in right center field.
The 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. The incredible turnaround by the New York Mets has taken them to their first National League Championship Series in 9 years.
It's just surreal, man. It's awesome that what we're doing, we're surprising everyone, and I want to keep doing it. I want to keep winning. I want to keep pouring champagne over all my teammates. This is awesome.
So you're surprising everyone. Are you surprising yourself?
No, I don't think we're surprised. I don't think as a team we're surprised. I think everybody else is surprised.
Are you surprised?
No. How could he be surprised anymore, Chris? Like, this has happened, what? I mean, obviously they played really, really good baseball down the stretch, but even if you just watched, the end of the season against the Braves or the earlier playoff matchups, how can you be surprised anymore? And this one was even, I think, a little less surprising because of the amount of pressure that they put on the Phillies all throughout the game. In the first and second innings, they had bases loaded. Another shot there, I think, in the fifth before Lindor finally came through. I mean, we can talk about all these bullpens imploding against them, or we can say they just got the job done. I think that's probably the way you got to look at it. If you're a bullpen that's faced the Mets this, at the end of the season, you think you didn't do your job, but really I think you just have to tip your cap. So am I surprised anymore? I don't think surprised is the right word. I think we're witnessing a team right now that is as hot as ever. And I think we maybe underestimated the talent level on that roster, and they're proving everybody wrong. I think that's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, I think, first of all, there's a long-term picture of which I am shocked about, right? Supposedly somebody declared them dead on May 29th. 11 games under 500. Kodai Senga was nowhere near the pitching mound. I looked at that rotation, And then I looked at the rest of the team, and I was trying to find places where Pete Alonso could go at the trade deadline. So from that standpoint, I am absolutely shocked that they were able to get their shit together. I just thought that for the second straight year, they were going to do a sell job at the deadline, and Cohn was going to eat more money so that they could get better prospects. And I said, well, okay, so it happens. And it's going to happen to them again, and they'll try and hit the reset button for 2025 because that's honestly where I believe they were going to be. I mean, didn't they tell Max Scherzer at the trade deadline a year ago, we're looking ahead to 2025? I mean, they even proclaimed that.
If you're looking at it through that lens, and of course you're surprised. I mean, if you talk to anybody on May 29th and said, hey, by the way, the Mets are going to be the best team in baseball, come October, they would have been like, absolutely not. So
right.
I don't think as much crap as I love to give you about that, I'm sure you're going to continue to get more and more of it as the Mets advance in this postseason. I mean, you were just spitting facts at that point. Like that wasn't a far-fetched take, It was early in the season. I think that's what I told you when you said, I said, they still have time to get it going. They still have the guys, but is it likely? Probably not. But that's like kind of where I'm at. Like, yeah, you can't be surprised anymore, Chris. Like they're right now a powerhouse team. Like that's the bottom line. Like whether it's because they went out and got some guys in the bullpen, or whether that's, they had guys step up for them like a Mark Vientos and Jose Iglesias. I mean, whatever it is, everything is gelling right now. And then you have the stone cold killer in Francisco Lindor. And I think he's like relishing in that now a little bit too much. Like, bro, like your nickname is Mr. Smile. Like, let's go.
It is very different. I went back and I looked at some clips last night as I was getting ready for this show, and I typed in Francisco Lindor something into X, and a bunch of his old interviews with Cleveland during their playoff runs, whether it was 2016 or even years that followed, came up. And to see the difference in demeanor between then and today is remarkable. I don't know if it's more of like, hey, mother, I think there's a little bit of, hey, MFers, get off my back, because y'all weren't with me for a long time. And all you did was bring up the number 341, which is the number of millions of dollars that he got a contract extension. And in fact, Steve Cohen made kind of light of it yesterday during the celebration. He said, 341 looks pretty good right now. So I do hope that he's enjoying this, because he certainly deserves it with every big hit. And let's not forget, the man was in serious pain over the last month and might still be to this day with that back injury. That may have knocked a lot of guys out. Not only is he playing, he's playing the hardest position on the field, still at a very high level and delivering in the clutch.
I agree. I think you hit it on the head there, talking about, look, if you weren't with me in my struggles, you're not with me when I'm riding high. I think he's got a little bit of that chip on his shoulder right now. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But he is
not that he was struggling, by the way.
No, he was, though. Trevor,
I mean, the offensive numbers weren't where he wanted to be. All these things, I get it. He was still putting up good seasons, but not this level. And what I'm talking about.
When I declared them dead, go look at his numbers.
I'm talking about last couple of years. I think that's really weighed on him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But it's funny. I have a bunch of friends that are Mets fans, and one of them, after the Grand Slam, texted me, "You were right about Lindor." And you're
wrong about everything else, Chris, but you were right about Lindor.
Damn it, I got one thing right. And I'll roll with that. So it's awesome for them, and it's great for the Mets, and they'll be either in Los Angeles or San Diego to start the National League Championship Series over the weekend. As for the Philadelphia Phillies, they came up a little short yet again. Here's Bryce Harper and Nick Castellanos.
I mean, every loss is kind of the same, man. Anytime you lose and don't finish the job of a World Series, it's the same. If it's the next round or the World Series round, it all feels pretty similar.
Watching Jose Iglesias be able to, unify them and get the city to buy into something bigger is nothing short of incredible. And, just give them their credit. They beat us. Is there a lot of things that we could have done better? Yes. Is there things that we could have done different? Yes. Do I think that they are a better team than us? No. But this series, they were.
I think he's one of the most interesting guys to listen to because he plays off the whole see ball, hit ball, don't think much caveman attitude. But he gives you some very insightful and thoughtful stuff. The fact that in a series where so much is on the line and he's able to see kind of a bigger view that's a team that was gelling thanks to one guy and an OMG and the whole bit and bring it together. And he knows how hard it is to get that done, to unify a team that maybe was a little fractured earlier in the year, says something. So I want to give him credit for that. Today, the Phillies keep going backward. They made it to Game 6 of the 22 World Series. A season ago, they had the NLCS in hand, and they lose in 7 to Arizona. And now they bow out before even the 5th game of the NLDS. What is going on here?
Oh, part of me wants to say that, it is just very difficult in the playoffs and only one team, gets to hoist the trophy. I think that is part of it.
We know that, though.
I mean, so what can they do differently? I mean, they just have to play better baseball. Their offense didn't show up. We just talked about the bullpen, and sometimes you have to tip your cap to a team like the Mets that seemingly get to everyone's bullpen, no matter who they are. But yeah, I mean, it's have they been hot at the right time? The last couple of years, I think we'd say yes, and it still didn't work out. This year was a little bit different. They got hot at the beginning of the season, then kind of, they slept walking into the playoffs this year, and we're seeing it, especially this year. The teams that are quote unquote battle tested at the end of the year have come into these playoffs and just kind of made a statement. So I don't know what they can do, Chris. They brought in the bullpen help. I think maybe the bottom of the lineup, having some different options there, I think could help them. The core is still there. They're going to lose some of those bullpen guys. So, I mean, possibly, because I believe, Hoffman and Estevez are free agents, so they'll have to, find some ways to fill those roles. But I think you could point to some of the depth there. I mean, I don't mean no offense to Cody Clemens there, but you get first and second in the 9th inning, and maybe you have something different off the bench. I don't know. Something like that could have helped. It's just, I really do believe, Chris, it's one team's happy at the end of the year and the other teams are not.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to fly in Philly, even if
it's
it is
not,
accurate.
It's not.
It's just that team was built to run through the
So
national.
what happened? What do you do?
Well, I do think they have to strengthen the bottom of their lineup. If you look in this particular series, outside of Harper and Castellanos, they went 13 for 100. I'm no math major, but that's about a $130 average. It's not good enough. And OPS collectively well under 500.
But some of those guys you're talking about, that's not just the bottom of the lineup. I mean,
that was a lot of. You're right. That's Trey Turner. That's JT Realmuto.
Yeah.
That's Kyle Schwarber. Who
Alec Boehm came in struggling. He kept struggling. You're just going to get rid of him?
Well, but they might. I think Dave Dombrowski, he's always been creative at times, and sometimes he's zigged when people expect him to zag. And so we'll see if they do make some changes to the rest of that lineup. I think it sucks because, I'm a Harper guy. I believe in him. He shows up so many more times than he doesn't. He is passionate about this game. I saw whatever his name. I saw you respond to whatever his name is. He's a big YouTuber, and so I'll give him credit for that. He's got a nice audience, but he's a big Mets guy, and he sent out.
Yeah, I know. He was mad about the London series.
Yeah, like, listen, I understand that's your rival, and you want to soak in the glory, and I get all that. Like, this is your time to shine. Bryce Harper is everything that's good about our sport. Just like Francisco Lindor is everything that's good about our sport. Like, if it sucks that, when you lose to them or whatever, and you're an arch rival and you're 100 miles away, and so we have to hate them. Mets fans, I think if you were to ask them honestly, they'd all be like, Bryce Harper's one bad MFer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
just silly stuff. But so goes it. I have a lot of Philly friends too. This ain't going to be easy for them. This ain't going to be easy. Because when you're going backward, it's the wrong direction.
Agreed, and I do agree with you that there are some changes to be made. I just think that he's got to be careful with the choices because this is a good baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good core. They've had success over the last 3 years. A lot of times when you try to just upend it and completely start over, I mean, you might not have the same, put yourself in at least a position to have success. We've seen that. So you got to be careful with the pieces you move around because I still do believe in this core, although it is aging and it is, time is kind of running out, for it. I still believe in it.
Once again, you mentioned the numbers of the bullpen, not good at all. I believe they gave up 16 runs in these 4 games. So I think it was something like 16 of the 23 or some obscene number. It was not good. As for the New York Mets, they will await the winner of the Dodgers and Padres because we got exactly what I wanted. That is a Game 5 at Dodger Stadium on Friday. I cannot wait. LA utilized a beautiful bullpen game. There were 8 guys that combined on a shutout of the San Diego Padres, and the Dodgers exploded from the get-go.
That ball's hit hard. The left center field. Merrill on the run to the track, to the wall. Goodbye! Mookie Betts does it again in the first. And the Dodgers are on the board.
How important was it to get to Dylan Cease early? Not only take him out of the game, but also take the fans out of this one.
I think it's huge. They showed a stat up there. Petco is, the loudest, one of the hardest places to play. So, he's going to come with his best. I mean, first pitch of the game was 100, so he was coming, but we were too.
We were too, and that dude in particular. Remember a week ago when we said who's the biggest player for each team? Do you remember who I said for the Dodgers?
Yeah.
Mookie Betts. And he was definitely the tone set. Well, this is what I needed because he needed it. He needed to set the tone, and they had to take that crowd out of the game as much as they could. And he did it.
I mean, it seems like in every single game, first inning, he's trying to set the tone. Profar took one away from him, but yeah, he's been really good. And I did not have a lot of faith in the Los Angeles Dodgers last night when the game started. I just didn't. I don't mind a bullpen game. I told you, like, if they work right, it's very difficult, as an opposing team to navigate. That's why we've seen the Tigers have so much success. We'll get to them in a little bit. But I just thought San Diego was going to close it out at home. I thought they had all the mojo. And now, it is a completely different feel to the series. And, maybe we should have known that because we talked about that coming into the playoffs, how everyone kind of just like always writes the Dodgers off. They talk about the shiny new thing, but the Dodgers are always right behind whoever with the best record since. They have consistently put together wins this year. I know sometimes 10-2 didn't look very pretty, especially in San Diego, but they find ways to win. And then every once in a while, they remind you how potent their offense can be. And here we are, man.
Credit to those 8 guys that pitched. It's not easy to get everybody's biorhythm pointed in the right direction. They were awesome, particularly against a fantastic offensive team in San Diego. And I would like to give a little credit, I think, to Dave Roberts.
I was going to say he's been criticized for the usage of the bullpen over the last few years. Now he's getting applauded.
It's interesting because I've got a really, really good Dodger friend, buddy of mine named Kevin Mahan. Actually, Kevin was with me the night that I met Michelle in Reno, Nevada. We used to work together out there, walk through a door at the bar, chewing jugs. I turned to Kevin. I was like, God, I hope that's her. And so he will always have a special place in my heart, but he's also a lifelong Dodger fan who constantly sends me texts about Dave Roberts, Dave Roberts making those moves again. Well, listen, everybody. If Dave Roberts were gone today, you tell me exactly who you'd want to manage the Dodgers. Who would it be? Do you want Joe Madden, who even though he broke the curse on the north side of Chicago, drove Cubs fans nuts with his postseason moves? Do you want that? Like, tell me who you want to get right now. I'll listen. There's not going to be a lot of answers that are better than Dave Roberts. So whether you think he plays a huge role or doesn't, you have to give him credit if you're going to criticize him too.
I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, I have friends that talk about the same things, man. It's always Dave Roberts, always Dave Roberts. And always like, hey guys, like, look, yeah, every once in a while pitching decision goes awry. But it's about the players on the field. And now, yeah, you gotta, if you're talking crap when someone does something bad, you gotta give them a little bit of praise.
All right, let me ask you this from the Padres standpoint, because we discussed it a little bit on Wednesday's show and their option to start Dylan Cease on short
Yeah.
rest, which is something that he has never done. And the numbers of a guy going on 3 days rest in the postseason are not very good historically. They could have had him rested for game 5 to back up Darvish if
Yes.
they needed to. They were riding the wave of momentum. They could have tried to go bullpen game. They could have had Martin Perez start, maybe give you 2 or 3 innings, which is basically what Cease gave you anyway. But now you've blown him out of the water for game 5. Do you think Schilt regrets the decision?
I mean, yeah, now that's kind of a hindsight thing. He could have been if it worked out. Obviously, we're talking about Schilt being he's pushing the right buttons, doing all these things. All the talking heads would be saying that, and we are talking heads. Look at us. Look at this head. I do think if you did take a step back and look at the series, I think Martin Perez with the bullpen you have, and then saving Darvish and Cease for game 5, that makes the most sense logically to me, especially because it wasn't just that Cease is throwing on 3 days rest. Didn't he have like a long layoff before his last start? So it was like whatever, more than a week, and then he starts, and then 3 days, and then you start. That's like a weird pattern for a pitcher. So I think if he had that perspective, he probably would go back and change his mind. I don't know, man. Sometimes your decisions don't work out.
We will break down game 5.
They're still in a really good spot, man. They don't care that they're playing in Dodger Stadium. They got Darvish going for them. The Dodgers have Yamamoto and Flaherty backing them up, and then the bullpen and all hands on deck. I can't freaking wait for that game.
It's going to be awesome. We'll preview that obviously on Friday's show. It's going to be a fantastic, fantastic game between two teams that really, really like one another. Today's episode brought to you by SeatGeek, the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. So we're almost at the LCSs. And to celebrate, SeatGeek is giving you a special offer to you guys. Use the code JOHNBOYPlayoffs10. That is 10% off your order, whether you're a first-time buyer or a returning customer. So take that phone of yours, open up the SeatGeek app, or if you don't have it, download it. Add JOHNBOYPlayoffs10 to your account and do it right now. Now, if you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're the best ticketing app in the world. It makes buying tickets super simple, in part because they're always looking out for your wallet. They rate every ticket on a scale of 0 to 10. Make sure you're getting the best deal possible. They color-code it as well. Green dot, good. Red dot, bad. So take advantage of the special postseason hookup. Use that code JOHNBOYPlayoffs10. 10% off tickets at SeatGeek. The code works on tickets or anything that you're looking for. Sporting events, concerts, festivals, so much more. And it doesn't matter how many times you bought tickets using SeatGeek before. So open up that phone. The code is JOHNBOYPlayoffs10. Add it to your account. You'll thank us later. Enjoy the game or the show or whatever you're doing. This show continues on with a stop at the ALDS. You have two teams, the Yankees and the Tigers, that could advance on Thursday. As for New York, they've been in a tough battle so far with those little plucky Royals. Tie game, late going. The G-Man.
High fly ball, deep left field. Back goes Melendez. Forget about it. It's gone.
I mean, this is what I came here for. So, not always going to be successful here, but, you just got to keep working and put yourself in the best opportunity.
It's remarkable, or I just admire how well he's able to focus in these big moments and just go to a different place mentally.
As far as postseason history goes, only one player has a higher home run rate in the postseason, and that is Babe Ruth. That ain't bad. To me, it's amazing because the guy's got a $300 million contract. He's a former league MVP, and he's almost an afterthought when we get to October, and then he continues to do this stuff. You're like, oh, yeah, he's pretty good.
what's funny is, I mean, think about like what do Yankee fans want? They could care less about the regular season. What are you going to do for us in October? We've talked about that a ton with Aaron Judge and all these things, but we really don't bring up Giancarlo Stanton until he's in the playoffs. And what he's on 12 homers in his first 30 career postseason games. And they seem to come at big times, and he surprises you. I mean, he stole a freaking base last night. Like, he's the postseason is it for him. And, honestly, it makes me happy because, he is a guy who I think is also, we don't give him enough credit for how he's handled New York. I think he's been really good for that in that clubhouse. And I think, with a big contract. There's a lot of pressure in New York, and I think he's just kind of been, an example. We give credit to Judge a lot for how he's handled the media. I think Stanton's done the exact same thing.
Do you think in a clutch situation, Yankees fans in October would rather have Giancarlo Stanton or Aaron Judge at the plate?
I mean, if we're thinking logically, we're thinking Aaron Judge at the plate. But I don't think Yankee fans.
Why is that logical?
It might not be. I don't know. I mean, you're telling me. I know. I get it. October is different, but you're telling me. Would you, if in that spot, life on the line, you'd take Giancarlo Stanton?
Well,
it's not like okay. What's crazy, I guess, is that's not an easy question to answer. And
right.
If you just wound the clock back to September 10th. You would say Aaron Judge in a heartbeat, right?
Of course you would. But when we get to October, something funny happens to Aaron Judge. I
would still take Aaron Judge. And Yankee fans might disagree with me. I'm still taking Aaron Judge.
I don't know, man. When the only guy in a major statistical category ahead of you in the history of the sport of postseason homers is Babe Ruth, I'm listening. As big a shot as that was for New York, the main reason they're one win away from the ALCS is because of the bullpen.
Yeah.
Continues to be outstanding. 13 1/3 innings in this series against the Royals without allowing an earned run. Weaver has been out of did you ever hit against him? I mean, he's been around a while.
I don't remember. So if I don't remember, it means I probably didn't do anything good if I did face him.
Because go look at his career statistics. They are not good at all. In fact, he's on his 5th team, major league team, since the start of
the Cardinals, right? He started with the Cardinals.
That's where he started.
I'm trying to think. Maybe I faced him there. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's on his 5th major league team since the start of 2022. He was a guy who was just trying to find a job, might have been a fill-in starter somewhere, but he used to get his brains beat in. His career ERA is slightly under 5. And now he has found this remarkable home. I know in the post-game press conference, I really don't consider myself a closer. I'm just kind of doing the job they're asking me. Yo, bro, you're the closer.
Yeah, don't stop saying that, dude. You're the closer. Don't you want a little bit of moolah? That's how you get paid in arbitration, man.
Yeah, so he's done an outstanding job. And a tip of the cap to Clay Holmes. I think it would have been easy for him the minute that he lost his gig to not be a credible relief pitcher come October. But he came in last night, did the job, and he's done it very well ever since he lost that role. Good for him.
Good for him.
Yep.
Well, I think the Yankees, I have it right here, 18 2/3 since their last run given up.
By the bullpen?
Yeah.
Pretty good. All right, so the Royals down to one more shot tonight at home. It's a rematch of the Game 1 starting pitchers because of the days off in the series. Both guys can go back to their Game 1 starters, so it'll be Michael Wacha for Kansas City and Garrett Cole for New York, who was okay. He certainly wasn't his dominant self. He did work into the 6th, but got knocked out before retiring a batter. Are you confident that Kansas City can stay alive and they'll make Garrett Cole work and extend the series back to New York?
I'm not unconfident with it. I think the Yankees should win this series. I mean, that's my belief. I do think they are a better team, but Kansas City has kept this, all the games close and they look like they have the ability to answer. I mean, yesterday, get down 2-0 in the 5th inning, and then they have the answer back inning to tie it up. I mean, they have the skill set to get it done. They have a lot of things that they can deploy against this Yankees team that the Yankees really can't deploy against them. Really, yeah. Can you continue to keep Aaron Judge down, which Michael Walker, we know about his numbers against Aaron Judge. And yeah, and don't give up the big homer. If they can continue to manufacture runs and they have a chance, Chris. Like, I don't think this is just some Garrett Cole's going to come steamroll through them. We just haven't seen that really from Garrett Cole almost all year long. He's had a couple of really good starts, but I just don't see that happening. So do they have a chance? 100%.
Well, I thought in September he really found it. But I did think
it's October now, Chris.
I know it is. And he 2 years ago in Cleveland, they were down 2-1 on the road against a team that was really putting it together, and he shoved against the Guardians that night. 7 innings. I think he had 8 strikeouts. He gave up 2 runs, and he got the series back to New York where they won it in 5. I think he can. I think he'll probably end it tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if he throws a pitch in the 7th inning. And I expect him to be dominant. I think he relishes that moment. With all that being said, Kansas City's 2 losses are by a single run each. So they have been right there.
Could it happen that Garrett Cole goes 7th tonight? Of course, dude. Mm-hmm. Of course. I don't see that. Even if he does go 7, I just don't see this as like some game that's not going to be close.
Well, just like the New York Yankees, the Detroit Tigers 1 win away from an appearance in the ALCS. They got enough timely hitting at their first home playoff game in a decade, but it was the 6 pitchers during a bullpen game that really set the tone in a shutout against Cleveland.
Holden deals, and a swing and a miss. A strikeout to end it with an exclamation point. The Tigers win game 3.
I don't know if I could read AJ's mind, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to read his mind, but I'm getting pretty close to it. But it's fun, man. It's fun. Those guys are embracing every single role, whether it's starter, opener, closer, mid relief. I mean, they're doing everything, man. I mean, it's fun to watch and fun to catch.
I actually think that Jake Rogers has been the MVP of this series. He's gotten a couple of huge hits. He got a big-time leadoff double yesterday. Obviously, he started the rally against Emmanuel Clase in Game 2, and they asked him a question about how challenging it is for the catcher in a bullpen game, and he said it's not easy. Like, you have to be ready for everybody's arsenal and remembering how to work certain guys, and I thought it was a really, really good point. A.J. Hinch ran circles around my boy Stephen Vogt yesterday from the onset, and that was really, really tough for me to watch. Not that they lost, but just part of the way that Detroit was able to get the victory, to which I'll give them all the credit.
I mean, he made Stephen make decisions early on. And so I don't know. I mean, managed circles around, I don't know if I'd use that verbiage, but I think, made him make the decisions early on. And if those would have played out differently, then we're talking about a different ball game here. But I do know what you're saying. Like, later in the game, AJ Hinch had all the platoon matchups that he wanted. He had the advantage to go and choose the matchups that he wanted because Steve had already basically shot his shot. So I think it's 2 managers who, are very well prepared for the games, and has been sort of a chess match against him, specifically when, the Tigers are throwing these bullpen games. And I will give credit to Hinch maneuvering the pieces the way he's done it all throughout the season, because you really have to get the guys to buy into like these roles that they're in, and not having a set schedule. We talk about that on the offensive side. I like when when you're going to hit, what part of the lineup you're going to be in. I don't like pinch hitting all of the time. I think it might even be even more so when you're talking about bullpen guys, getting them to buy into, hey, you got to be ready in the 1st or 2nd. You got to be ready. And then this game, you're going to close it out for us. I mean, that's a difficult thing to do. He's been able to get the guys to buy in. And we always talk about and he's even said this, is it sustainable for 162?
No.
And he said no. But here's the thing, Chris, why not?
Well,
If you and I've talked about this before, and we're kind of getting on a little tangent here, I apologize, but if you set your organization up for that, you have to have the right guys to do it. But if you have pitchers trained to pitch like that, and you have a bunch of guys that can go 2 or 3 innings, day off, 2 or 3 innings, why couldn't it be sustainable over 162?
yeah, I suppose it's possible. I think the other thing that we're going to have to look at in the offseason, and this is a discussion for then, is it good for the sport?
No, it's not.
So, the two of us and a lot of the people that are consuming our content, and once again, thank you very much, are going to watch the sport regardless. It's in our lifeblood. It's who we are. It's what we do. It's in our DNA, etc. So no matter what you do to the game or how it is being played, we're in. But take, for example, some of my family members who are knee deep into it right now, but they're not watching every Guardians game during the season. And now, in particular, it's amplified by the way the postseason is played. Here were the number of pitchers used by all 8 teams on Wednesday: 6, 7, 5, 4, 4, 7, 8, 7. So half of the teams used at least 7 pitchers to get through not an extra inning game, a 9-inning game. I am not so sure that that is best for this sport.
Well, if every team starts to do it, then no, it's not. It's like the Tampa Bay Rays situation. If every team tries to act like the Rays and that's their model, like, I don't think that is good for the sport. Having 1 or 2 teams try to do it, I don't mind it. I think there is something there. If you're breaking it down, how do you want to be the most competitive, and what makes it most difficult for batters? It's facing a new guy every single freaking time you're at the plate. That's very difficult to do. I don't know how we got here, but I think it's my fault.
No, that's okay. But let's get back to the Tigers, because they deserve it's one thing to implement the plan. It's another thing to execute it. And they have done it phenomenally well. Game 2 against Houston, and now game 3 in particular against the Guardians. If you didn't pay attention to the early part of the game, they got Cleveland's left-handed heavy lineup in the starting lineup.
So that's my question for you. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Vogt always says he sets his lineup to the starter, no matter if he knows it's going to be a bullpen game. That's interesting to me.
I think it's the wrong move. And here's where I think they have to sit down and make sure that I'm sure they did after the game yesterday and say, what did we do wrong where we didn't give our guys the best opportunity? Just so people know, their starting right fielder, Will Brennan, got pinch hit for before he even had an at-bat. Now, if you go look at his splits, he's a left-handed hitter. He has a sub 400 OPS against left-handers. But if you don't give him an at-bat early on and you just let Johnkenzie Noel hit the whole time, well, later on, he's going to face some very tough right-handers like he had to do. Kyle Manzardo, this is the problem I have.
Yeah, this is one you don't like.
Kyle Manzardo, who you had hitting second, had 1 plate appearance, and you pinch hit David Fry in a critical situation. He struck out the next 2 times, and then he hit a BB to Vierling, who made a really nice play. But my point is this, is that Cleveland, we've talked about Cleveland's lack of offensive explosion. Manzardo's one of the few guys who hit for them down the stretch. And I know he's a young player. He's a rookie. He has 19 at-bats against left-handed pitching. But so what? You cannot take one of your better bats out of the lineup. You can't have him hit once and then say, screw it, David Fry. And folks, I'm going to tell you something. I love what David Fry has done. He is not an all-star. He is a guy who made an all-star team. There is a huge difference between the two. And so I don't think he's the guy you want to hang your hat on in critical situations. But this, I know I'm bitching because I'm a Cleveland fan. The Tigers, it's one thing to lay out a plan. It's another thing to execute it. And they have done it exceptionally well.
They really have. Like I said, I mean, you have to give credit to Hinch, and even he's playing the mind games of, not even shaking Cater's hand and acting like he's going to go back out for the second inning. I think that's all stuff that he plans on doing. Does it mean anything? I don't know, but people have always said AJ Hinch, one of those prepared managers in all of baseball. And I think he's getting a lot of love for that, for the planning and, situational managing. I don't love to give him credit. You know that,
right,
Chris. Not the biggest Hinch fan, but he's done a really good job.
There's a difference between appreciating the job he's doing and not liking the guy for what he didn't do in Houston. And we might have a chance to talk about that somewhere down the line.
Has he been on the Rose rotation?
He is not. He is an excellent interview. He is very smug. I like that sometimes about him. Oh, yeah. He is. But he's an exceptional interview. I would love to have him on again because I do think that there's a lot of things that we would need to talk about, which I'm not afraid to ask him about.
I love that.
And I am curious as he continues to go, and if they end up making it to the ALCS, let's say against the Yankees, how many of those stories are going to cycle back out again? It'll be a huge deal, in my opinion. And he has to wear that.
Of course he does.
That's at the top of his resume.
I mean, he did pay a penalty.
He did. Absolutely, he did. I'm saying he shouldn't have a job. He absolutely should have a job. He was suspended. Yeah. He served his penalty, and he's moved on. Speaking of moving on, I want to let you know that this episode of Baseball Today is brought to you by Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Booking.com, almost at the LCSs. There's still time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yeah, we're talking about your baseball rival cities with hotels and bed and breakfasts and vacation rentals and resorts and so much more available on Booking.com. You might just find the perfect stay for this postseason, even in your baseball rival cities. So, fans in San Diego, if you don't want to drive home after Friday night's game in Los Angeles or you want to get up there, go find a place to stay. Why not? Go explore Los Angeles. You might sit there and say, there's no way I'm going up there. Forget about it. You know what? You might just have the time of your life. And who knows? You could see your Padres celebrate in enemy territory with a Game 5 win on Friday. So no matter what team you are rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city. From hotels that overlook the stadiums to family-friendly resorts to cute little bed and breakfast stays, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. Once again, the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com and download the Booking.com app today. All right, quickly, before we get out of here. Crazy play in that Padres-Dodgers game. Ball ripped down the line. Manny Machado tips it, and the third base umpire, Mark Rippinger, accidentally sticks his hand out, knocks the ball down, and Shohei gets thrown out at the dish. When I saw the replay, at first I was like MFing Rippinger. I was like, what are you doing? There was nothing he could do to get out of the way of that.
Sticking that big old arm out there to call it fair. Imagine being Shohei being like, what just happened?
Yeah.
He thought he was going to go and standing up to home, and all of a sudden he's getting told to slide. He's got to be like, what? How did that ball get there?
It did.
I don't think he saw it, right?
No, I don't think so either. When I saw the replay, one thing I did notice is how close the third base and left field umpires are to one another. I feel like it's almost like when receivers run the wrong pattern and end up in the same location.
Yeah, I don't know
why. They're 8 feet apart.
Yeah, I don't know why we have to have outfield umpires.
Well,
I don't really get that.
It certainly didn't help last night in Kansas City because I don't think any of us knew whether or not that ball down the right field line was fair.
And it's
or foul.
reviewable. So what do we need him for?
Well, I still don't know whether that ball in Kansas City was fair or foul. It's just too hard to tell. All right, we are back at it again on Friday. We'll talk about whether or not the ALDSs are moving back to New York and Cleveland respectively, or if the Yankees and Tigers are going to finish it up and have their champagne dreams. We'll get you all set for Game 5 of the Padres and the Dodgers. We cannot wait. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, and the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Friday here on Baseball Today, presented to you by Booking.com.